Welcome to the Industry Insider, brought to you by PromoCorner. Each week, promotional product professionals Meg Erber, Jeff Franklin, and Stephen McFadden, along with special guests, will discuss industry news, trends, and events with a focus on educating the promotional products industry. The Industry Insider, the nerdy news you need to know.
Welcome back to yet another exciting episode of the Industry Insider, your promotional products podcast where you can get all the nerdy news you need to know about. We are live. It's a live broadcast today, which is seems like they're getting further and further apart.
Fewer and further apart. No.
Yeah, that one. Fewer and further apart. That's the words I was looking for. Thank you, Meg. With all the travel and just the busyness of this time of the year, but we're excited. This podcast is brought to you by by PromoCorner, and certainly PromoCorner provides digital marketing solutions for suppliers and distributors, and their services include email broadcasting, banner ads, sponsorship opportunities, content, and more content, blogs, vlogs, and podcasts, video services, and Promo Show, which is a platform for private virtual events. Contact sales at promocorner.com to learn more about their services. We've got kind of a cool episode for you guys today. We're launching sort of a new initiative, and what are we calling this, Stephen? Around the Industry, I believe is what we're going to call it.
I love it.
Right?
It sounds great.
Do we have a name for it?
Very cool. Yeah, well, yes. Stephen
okay.
has given us a name for it. So
Sweet.
we're excited to have Around the Industry. And look, it's we're basically gonna bring up interesting news topics, different things that we sort of want to discuss. This isn't going to be every podcast that we do, but maybe once a month, or every other month, something like that. But we just want to make sure that we're covering the news of the industry, and certainly there's a lot of resources for that. So. Meg, I know that, first of all, how are you? I see your arm is in a sling, and you're probably, under some medication, and, all the lucid thoughts today will be, really fun.
Yeah, bear with me. So yeah, I'm okay. I had surgery on Monday morning.
Meg, why don't you tell them what really happened? All right.
I wasn't doing
I beat your ass last week in fantasy football in your own league, and so you had to go get that taken care of real quick.
Oh, I thought for the last time someone asked for EQP, and Meg's like, I am not I'm not going to stand for this anymore.
No, that would be the other person in the sling.
Yeah, the other person. No, I had I hurt myself back in February. I was trying to get ready, back in shape, for a vacation, and I didn't warm up, and I was doing sit-ups, and I had a 25-pound weight went behind my head, and and it hurt, ping, and I was like, oh, that's not good. Went to jiu-jitsu. I'm like, all right, I can't do this. Went to yoga. I was like, all right, I can't do this. So 2 months went by. It wasn't getting any better. Went to the doctor. They gave me a shot. It started to feel a little bit better, but then I was at a customer, and I was in some janky parking lot, and the wind blew. I don't know how else to explain it. It was just janky. And the rack started to go, and I just put my arm out, and then it felt like my arm tore off my body. So I finally went back to the doctors, and they were like, yeah, you have a slap tear and 2 other smaller tears. No big deal. We can get in there and you'll be good to go in a couple weeks. Sounds good. Went in on Monday morning. So yes, I had the slap tear and the 2 others, but when they got in there, they saw that the anchor of my bicep had also been detached. So they fixed that, and I sent you guys that picture, but she also found a bunch of torn cartilage. I don't really remember where it was, but something about the humerus. I was out of it when she was telling me about it, but
it doesn't seem very humorous, Meg.
No, it looked like a bunch of calcium deposits, and I thought that was from the shot, but no, that was just a bunch of torn cartilage just hanging out there. So pretty gross. I still don't have much feeling in my arm from that nerve blocker, but it's getting better. I can feel that it's getting better. But I did bathe today, so we're on a straight and narrow, whatever that means. And I want to give props to Stephen. That is a nice sweater that you are wearing today, sir.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm rocking it.
If you notice, that Adidas emblem is front left chest, which is something that Adidas has worked with.
Is that where that's at?
Well, the reason why I say this is because we work with Adidas specifically to develop products specifically for the promotional product industry. And traditionally, people like to do left chest branding. With this piece in general, we want to start with the Adidas branding, and then your company's branding will be secondary somewhere on the back, the sleeve, elsewhere. But we start with the Adidas branding on this piece. And
Is that something that we're seeing happen more frequently? I mean, not to like launch us into the topic without talking to Steven first, but I mean, you know what? Let's come back
to
to
Steven.
it.
Yeah, come back to this.
Let's come back to it. Steven, how Steven is doing is a little bit, well,
he's also having a week, apparently.
It's been a week, but
week.
Personally, I am doing okay. There's some family stuff and, electrical explosion things and just,
compact
what you would expect, that stuff happens, right? So, but I am doing well, as Jeff mentioned, and maybe we might want to outline it too, to kind of go through the topics. But I'm excited. This is gonna be cool. I think it's needed. It'd be a fun episode. So, but I'm good. And Jeff, it sounds like you won fantasy football, so you're having a good week.
This week, no, I got my ass kicked in both of my leagues. I'm absolutely plagued with injuries. Actually, you know what? After Thursday night, I think I had like 87% of my points with only 2 of my players having played.
I saw that.
I was like, oh, this is in the bag. And then the next thing you know, everybody's injured or just absolutely lays a goose egg.
Yeah.
I somehow got beat, which is terrifying.
If it makes you feel any better, I went from the weekly highest score to the weekly lowest score in back-to-back weeks.
Well, I had Jalen Hurts and Justin Jefferson both play on Thursday night. They both did phenomenally well.
They had as much
Pittsburgh
points
defense Monday night, and that's pretty much all my team. Everybody else was just a fat 0.
Yeah.
But
right.
I won both of my leagues yesterday or this week, just if anyone cares, both of them.
Yeah, I mean, from what you were saying though, Steven, it is definitely needed. I know we've always tried to be timely with the news that we deliver, but sometimes it's a little bit more challenging and difficult, especially scheduling stuff out weeks and weeks in advance. So I think this is kind of a refreshing little take on the podcast and what the content that we're delivering. So kudos to you for the idea, and I'm looking forward to it. But yeah,
Steven,
Meg, why don't we launch with you first? But before we go into the information that you have for us, since you had mentioned Steven's shirt and the Adidas logo being on the left chest, is the customer branding actually is that normal now that it's more taking a backseat to the brand?
If you don't mind, Jeff, I do want to interrupt real quick. So just so people know, hopefully the format of this will have like an apparel segment. Or some sort of product or new to the industry segment that Meg will run. Jeff, I think you're going to cover some news stuff to kind of stay more relevant, like you were mentioning. And I'll try to find some nerdy data about either a product category or revenue reports or all that nerdy stuff. So, but Meg was, she's kind of front and center on that apparel thing along with Jeff. So we had to split that up. Maybe you guys can swap back and forth.
Well, if there's any hat news, I can share it. But, the rest of it Meg can have. But no, look, I'm already doing the Ron Burgundy with the teleprompter ad read. So I might as well do the news as well. You know what I mean?
That's right. All right. I'm so sorry, Meg. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Jeff,
that's okay.
Question.
Yeah, no. So. Hey, Jeremy. So I wouldn't say it's replacing it. I say it's what we are preaching. I think you don't have to have a NASCAR-sized logo on your chest, your branding. You're going into these meetings and you're buying retail brands to show off that your brand is aligning with that retail brand. So why not start with that? So yes, I think it's a trend. I think it's going to be here to stay for a while, at least until the next big trend comes. But I preach to my customers like, hey, you don't have to go left chest all the time. So I love this new Adidas piece. I love that they went front and center and they actually made the Adidas logo really big. So you're starting with that. And again, it just emphasizes the brand. But what I wanted to talk about and what S&S Activewear has recently done is last week we had our first of this year product preview for next year. What that entails is flying half the sales team to a location, and we have this whole trade show where our mills come in. They bring all of their new product for next year, and they teach us about it. They teach us how to sell it. And what's really great is that they gave us this this new product guidebook. And what I really like about it is our marketing team went in and they sent this questionnaire out to all of our brands, basically providing new business updates, new retail partnerships, 2024 initiatives, and how to position yourself and teach links and not links, like guides to help the reps. So that was really, really neat. And I think it was beneficial. I don't know if our customers got that as well. But a lot of trends, a lot of new product, and four takeaways I just want to talk about very briefly. Because all of these new brands and new products are starting to launch now. You're going to see them at Promotions East next month, but it's a perfect time to go talk to all of your apparel suppliers to see what's new, what's coming in, what the trends are looking like for Q4, Q1, because I know they're coming in at SNS. So actually, we just have this. I can't lift it, but it is a fall trend kit. I have inserts. I have all that good stuff. But a couple of the takeaways. So a lot of really soft fleece. I know with J America, they have a new brand with Nautica for us. It's not a new brand, but it's a new brand for SNS. Some really high-end pieces at great price points. Again, it's a brand name. A lot of new textures and fabrications, which I love. Big on that. Independent trading. One of the biggest sellers we have is this IND 4000. It's a 10.5-ounce fleece, hooded. They just came out with a crew neck. It is money. Something that Stephen and I both learned about is called 3-end fleece. And basically, it's just 3 different yarns that are woven in to make this fleece extra sauce. I said sauce. Saucy.
It's just the meds.
It's just the meds. So I don't want to make this about a product presentation, but I love this sweatshirt. I've been sending everybody samples of it so far. And it's a basic brand. And you know how I am. I'm always like fashion, premium. But Fruit of the Loom knocked my socks off with this. It's the 700 MR. And the reason why it is it has all these really cool features. It is an eco premium blended hoodie. It's made out of it was an 8.5 3-end fleece, but it was a 5743 combed ring spun recycled polyester pre-shrunk fleece. And the recycled poly, it's 100%, and it saves 8 plastic water bottles out of the ocean. Usually when you have a product like this, it's either going to not be as soft or it's going to be crazy expensive. This is a great price point. And I don't want to talk about net pricing over the waves, but if you have a login, go check it out. Phenomenal price. Everybody should be sending this to their customers. Stephen, what was your thought on that piece?
Well, I thought it was good. And I think ultimately it's, the mills that I saw and that were there, obviously those mills provide into multiple different apparel suppliers as well. So I would imagine this kind of is like the kickstart of 24. And I don't know that I realized, I've always known it was early and fall launches, for next year. And in my brain, I've always been so accustomed to going in January and thinking I can't get stuff until spring. And so that's when they launch stuff. But it's no, it's almost like 2 seasons ahead for next year. So I think it's wise to know okay, now is the time. 24 has already been announced. So go check with SNS and Alpha and Samar and all those brands that carry those mills, because they've got that information now of what's coming out. So I think that's super valuable.
Yeah, and you're right. And I think if you look to retail is already, in summertime, they're already doing, wintertime or Halloween or whatever it is.
Right.
And we're starting to see that trend now in the promotional product industry. We have the products now coming in for January for 2024. And the last takeaway that I had was a Talltex product, the new 602. We're bringing it in 80 colors, and the price point is phenomenal. It's a combed, super soft ring spun cotton t-shirt, and then there is a CVC aspect to it as well. But 80 colors, deep inventory, and I love that. So aside from the brands with the Adidas, the Columbia, the Oakley, again, brands are going to be really big going into 2024. Deep inventory, great styles. Emanating retail, but again, with those retail brands that we bring into this market, we work with them exclusively to develop the product for this industry, which means, the general decoration places will be open. So yeah, that's all. So that's my update on that. It was a phenomenal product preview. I learned so much. And I am so excited about all these new products, especially the Adidas stuff. Like,
while we're on the apparel segment, before we launch over to Steven with promo data, I do have maybe a counterpoint, and I'm probably like the lone wolf out there, with this thought or mindset, but it almost seems like, especially with like the secondary position branding, I almost feel like our industry has kind of forgotten, what our industry is all about with branding the client versus, just buying other brands and supporting or flashing those other brands. I mean, I get why. But at the same point, like you had mentioned, if your values really align with X or Y, you're gonna go and put your stuff on that. But then, maybe 3 months down the road, that company does something really stupid, and now your brand is still associated with that as long as your brand is on their apparel or backpack or whatever it might be. And so I've always kind of found that a very interesting thing when it comes to branding, especially because our industry as a whole has always been about, hey, we're the guys that are branding the client, not necessarily just throwing your stuff on somebody else's brand. And like I said, I'm probably like the 1% of the industry that maybe feels that way because brands are so relevant right now. But yeah, just my 2 cents as a counterpoint.
I would say that I would agree with you on a whole, Jeff. I think that there's, time and place for all products, right? So like something like this, if it was a gift and then you wanted to subtly brand it or something, so that way people were like, oh, great, they got me an Adidas gift. And then it's, tone on tone or on the back yoke or on the sleeve. I get that kind of usage for the product. So maybe it's just fitting in that segment of the buying, purchasing for the industry. But I agree with you. I think that our job as a promotional industry is marketing other people's brands, not brands that already have their own marketing, so.
With all that being said, one of the biggest things that the takeaways from this whole thing was this ESG aspect of it and the sustainable aspect of it. So when you're putting a logo on something, unfortunately, it puts a shorter shelf life, because if you're not at that company anymore, or you're like, hey, I don't want to wear this NASCAR branded shirt out to the grocery store, those types of things. So when we're minimizing the branding so it's not as big, I think it just provides a longer shelf life. So that's my take on it.
Well, and I will say, I was just at the Reciprocity Road Rally last week, and Jeremy Lott was a keynote speaker from Sanmar. And one of the things that he had mentioned was the best sustainable product that you can possibly put in front of somebody is a good product that they're going to hang on to. Not necessarily eco or sustainable. It needs to be something that people are going to hang on to that doesn't go into the brand fill. As long as you're, holding on to it and reusing is just as good as recycling or whatever else. So
100%.
That was definitely one of the key things that I took from that keynote. But and I agree. So as long as you're purchasing good quality product, but it was my 2 cents because I hear it a lot, and I know how much more relevant brands are now than they were 2, 3, 5, 10 years ago. It was almost maybe 10 years ago you couldn't really find very many brands in the industry. But either way, Steven, to move things along, why don't we go to promo data?
So I was able to find a few things that I thought were interesting, so I'll quickly go through these. There's ways that you can kind of measure the health of the promotional industry, and one of those is by measuring companies in the promo industry that are publicly traded. And so there's a few companies that either their ownership groups are publicly traded or that they report their revenue. So just kind of taking a quick dive into that. Ennis, which is a big printer facility, does a couple $100 million in promo, which is publicly traded. They gave out their half year Q2 revenue report. And I kind of compared that with some of the predictions for the year, most of which of the predictions for the industry health overall was that there'd be a strong Q1 followed by a fairly steady or predictable Q2 through 4, which would match up closely with 2022.
Good.
And so far, that's kind of what the data shows. Ennis had a strong Q1. 4imprint had a strong Q1. Pebble Group, which is the owner of Facilis, had a strong Q1. And then Ennis then had a Q2 4% lower than 2022's. 4imprint, I believe their Q2 was even with 2022 of last year, Pebble Groups was a little bit above 2022, but all within that margin. So it does look like that the industry is kind of staying with what the predictions were, and that there'll be some growth, but nothing that people are going to go crazy about. It's not going to continue the growth rate between 21 to 22. It's going to be more like the average growth rate that we've seen back between like 17 and 18 or 16 and 17.
Well, I mean, I can't imagine anybody would expect you to maintain the growth between 21 and 22, but that growth was just because it was so far down.
Absolutely. And so I just, I think it's smart for us to be reasonable with our business projections as well, too, looking at it and be like, all right, if we can sustain this 20% growth every year, but you have to realize market growth will eventually get back to where it was. Well, now you're just seeing your company growth on average if you have more data points to look at. So that's my nerdy deep dive into the health of the industry and using some of the data from NS Foreign Print and the Pebble Group provided by PPAI's News and ASI News.
Nice.
So what do you guys think? Then do you think next year is going to be better than this year? Because this year was a shit show.
Well, next year is an election year, so I mean that certainly depending on the
promotional industry typically.
Yeah, it usually does pretty good for the industry just with all the stuff. Maybe.
Yeah, there haven't been a ton of predictions on that. They're still predicting Q3 reports and Q4 reports. I would say traditionally speaking, if you look at election years, the economy and costs and all sorts of things just do a little bit better than they have the previous 3 years. So it wouldn't surprise me if we saw somewhere in like the 2 to 5% growth or 2 to 3% growth. Nothing like 10 or 15 or anything like that. I think it'll be a couple percentage points.
So over this past year, Stephen, I think prior to this, the last couple of years, we've seen apparel do a lot better than hard goods. Would you say as a supplier, you're seeing a turn at all this year? Like promo is doing a little bit better, doing better than the soft goods this year?
I really don't have enough data to only my own to kind of speak to that. I think that we as a company did more apparel in 21 and have done more in 22 and have done more hard goods this year. I think a lot of it was because, in my personal opinion, a lot of it was because they didn't have the people in there to order apparel for 20 and 21, or 19, 20, 21. So when they finally got people back, they could finally order all the jackets and get all the sizing and do all these t-shirts things. And so I think that's why. I don't know. I'm speculating, but products have, increased, I think, because trade shows are back so much. So that, the trade show industry, the event space industry is a huge driver of hard goods. And since those are fully back, those have been much higher than apparel for us. So.
Interesting. Cool. Yeah, and I think we're seeing that in general, that, and a lot of things I'm hearing are chalking up to because there were so many inventory issues in 2021. People were front loading when they could. Their contacts may not be at the place anymore. Just a bunch of different reasons, but mostly it was because they needed to order it when they saw it, and they don't need it as much this year. But the hard goods, I think. There was a lot of inventory issues in the past, right after COVID, immediately following with the supply chain issues, and that might have contributed to it as well. Whereas it seems to be back in good graces with the inventory and supply chain issues. So, yeah.
So I for my segment, just the newsworthy stuff. There was a NewsLink article that just came out yesterday. If you guys didn't receive it, but there's a couple key points or things that I thought was pretty interesting out of that. So first and foremost, new board approved PPAI board of directors. I don't know if you guys saw that. Aaron Riley, CEO and founder of Pop Promos. Zach Ottenstein, hopefully I'm saying that correctly, president of the Image Group, and Lori Bauer, which is the senior vice president of affiliate sales for I Promote You, have all been approved for PPI board of directors. So congrats to them.
Congrats, you guys.
Yeah, and then the other thing, or one other thing, is a new retail giant has entered the promo space.
Oh, let's talk about that.
Did you guys hear about Best Buy getting into promo?
I did not. I might have read it briefly, but skimmed over it. So let's hear about it. What are they
Yeah,
doing?
so Best Buy, I guess, are starting to offer corporate gifting needs for tech products. So it makes sense. I mean,
BBLs, yeah.
they've got all the major brands as far as tech products go. So I mean, it kind of makes sense. But look, we've already seen Amazon, Walmart, and Costco, and all these other places get into the space, and so I think the industry is feeling pretty good about not having to fret and worry about it too much, because it hasn't really disrupted the marketplace too much. But yeah, I just thought that was certainly noteworthy, especially coming into the holiday season. And then the last thing that I saw that was pretty interesting. Now, I know nothing about this case, so hopefully you guys may or may not know something about it. But so I guess there was some a federal inquiry or trial with some promo distributors. I guess they were I guess colluding or potentially colluding to rig bids for the promotional products industry for the Army. Did you guys see that?
No.
So apparently they were acquitted by a federal jury
Okay.
in the bid rigging case. So hopefully that means they were innocent of the situation. But yeah, so basically over the last 8-9 years or whatever, these three separate companies were I guess brought in for this situation. Have you guys heard anything about that? Because I had no idea. Then I saw
I haven't. That's interesting though. It's I guess you could do it with like bid collusions, like because if they need authentic bids and they needed three, if you had three people bidding and rotating winners or fudging the winners, I could see how that would work. But yeah, I don't know enough about it to speak about it. I don't want to speak at a turn either or incriminate. So,
I know.
I'm interested to learn more about it though and see.
Like how that came up. How did that come about? Were they accused of it? Did they have proof? How did they get out of it? Like, where are they located? So
the initial indictment came in April of 22. It says a Florida jury had acquitted the three men, so maybe they're all from Florida. I'm not completely sure there. But yeah, basically, if they would have been found guilty, they would have been in violation of the Sherman Antitrust Act, obviously. And the Florida jury determined that there was insufficient evidence to convict the men of bid rigging. So, yeah. So kudos to them for getting off. Hopefully that's warranted. But if you're interested in getting more information, like I said, that came in the PPAI Newslink article, and you could look that up in media.ppai.org. If you wanted to get more information there as well. But what are your guys' thoughts on those three things from the news link?
I am out of it completely because I haven't really watched the news or anything, but I'm crazy shit going on, man. Crazy stuff. That is insane.
Yeah, fair enough.
None of those are surprising, honestly. They all make sense. Best Buy's entry is cool. The lawsuit's interesting. I'll be interested to kind of see if I can find some more information on that in the future. And yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I'll have more to add next time. Sorry, everybody. I just,
No, all good. We're starting to run short on time anyways, but
the last segment, we'll make it really, really quick. A couple of events that we want to talk about. Two I have. First one.
You get one, Meg.
You get one, Meg. So get off your high horse. All right.
Stop. Well, I would normally talk about Promotions East, so I'm not going to. But this Friday, this Friday at the 22nd at 11 a.m., there's going to be a Facebook Live. It is How Well Do You Know Promo? It is a sales rep rumble, and it is yours truly versing up against Nick Latour. I'm taking him down. I think I might know more than him, hopefully. But we are going to have a Royal Rumble, and it'll be on Facebook Live at 11 a.m., and it's something that ASI is doing, so it should be fun. And don't forget Promotions East, October 2nd through the 4th in Atlantic City at Harrah's.
Meg, you get one.
And if you haven't registered, you still have like one more day to do it for free. You can use PE Podcast 23 as your promo code. That's all. What else?
All right. Make sure you let John Cudahy know that we'll be billing him for that nice advertisement.
Thanks for sponsoring.
Thank you for sponsoring, John. Appreciate you. No, so for me, look, it's that busy time of the year. There are shows after more shows, and 16 different shows happening at the same time, same week, all that good stuff. It's been crazy. Last week, our team was literally going from one show to the other, trying to overlap and figure out who's covering what, and it was just insane. But we had Reciprocity Road Rally, which I mentioned earlier. Really phenomenal event for that buying group. So kudos to Perry Worley, the executive director of that group, for putting that on. Really awesome. But moving forward, looking forward, I personally really love the regional stuff, and I know since Meg already shouted out Promotions East, I'll go the regional route. So CPPA, the Chesapeake Promotional Products Association, they've got their sort of fall event coming up that I always really look forward to over the last couple of years. It's usually like we've done like corn maze / bonfire, apple cider, donuts, all that good stuff. I mean, it's usually a really fun time. S'mores, but it's just a really cool networking event. So looking forward to that. And then, of course, they've got their annual hockey game coming back at the beginning of November. So if you're a hockey fan and you're in the area, come on out. I believe it's November 2nd. I could be wrong, but it'll be a fun game. I think it's the New York Islanders versus the Caps. So it'll be fun.
Flyers.
Steven, what about you, man?
I'm going to break my own rule that I gave Meg such a hard time about, but I'm not going to talk about the events. I'm just going to talk about registration openings. So for those of you that don't know, there's been 2 registration openings that have happened. One of which was September 11th was actually Expo for Vegas. They just already. And then there was a info thing on ASI's page about PSI registration in Germany. Which opened up as well, which I'll be attending for the first time. So
we're gonna have to go live from PSI because we talked about it last year, and now you'll actually be there. So
Meg, you're going?
No way. No, I'm not.
Oh, I want to. I've been talking to Nick and Michael. So hey, nudge, nudge. I've been begging to go to PSI because this year is like the first year in like the longest time ever that they haven't overlapped with.
It's like the Olympics. Every 4 years, it lines up the week before.
So I'm fingers crossed. Maybe we'll be there together. We'll drink.
That'd be cool. That'd be really cool.
Yes, but pints there are like real pints. They're big.
Yeah, I know. Have you ever been to a Hofbrauhaus? Come on, man. I know what I'm getting into.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I'll have half.
All right. Very cool. All right. Is that it for this episode then?
We did it.
It was a long episode, but it's okay.
That was painless. Well, that's because Meg talked forever about freaking apparel. Jesus.
I'm sorry. I love it. I'm a nerd.
Yeah. We're going to get better at it, but I think this is good.
I've got a new drinking game, though. Every time Meg says brand, you have to take a shot.
Yeah.
Jeez.
And we need a COVID jar as well.
A what?
You need a what?
A COVID jar. Every time it's mentioned, since we have to like put a little quarter in it for charity or something like that.
Well, we didn't say it at all today until you.
We did.
Did we?
Yeah. That's how unaware we are.
Desensitized.
I've filtered that word out of my vocabulary. It's like womp 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 womp. It's the whole Charlie Brown thing.
Meg, did you say that we were sanitized or desensitized?
Desensitized. I don't know. I meant to say desensitized. Oh, yeah.
Either way. Well, look, hopefully you guys enjoyed the episode as much as we did. I know it was pretty fun. Cool little new platform or format for us to do every now and again. So stay tuned, and hopefully we'll be doing another one. Well, I guess it'll be a little bit further out because we got some other cool stuff coming up. We've got a whole nother format coming out here that is also ripping Steven off. So thank you for contributing and lending us that as well. But stay tuned for that. That's going to be fun. I'm not telling you what it is yet. You'll find out soon enough.
Yep,
but yeah, this episode is brought to you by PromoCorner. PromoCorner provides digital marketing solutions for suppliers and distributors, and their services include email broadcasting, banner ads, sponsorship opportunities, content, and more content, blogs, vlogs, and podcasts, video services, and Promo Show, a platform for private virtual events. So contact sales at promocorner.com to learn more about their services and figure out how they can help you and your company. Guys, it was fun. Do you have anything else to say or add, or
No, it was great. Have a
great. Go get some food to soak up some of that medication.
I need to go eat. Yeah.
All right, guys. Until next time, we'll see you.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of PromoCorner's Industry Insider. For more great content from industry thought leaders, including podcasts, blogs, and videos, visit promocorner.com.